tell me about your thoughts on the impeachment inquiry?
Well, I was there during the impeachment of President Bill Clinton, and I was in the United States Senate and went through that process. This obviously is different set of facts. I ended up voting to convict him because I felt the evidence clearly showed that he had committed perjury. One can debate whether or not perjury, under what circumstances perjury should be impeachable, but I thought the evidence clearly showed that he had committed that crime. So I've not really followed. I've seen the TV, some of the TV every day, and I read the newspapers. So I don't know really what the House will do or what the Senate will do.
So do you support the impeachment of President Donald Trump?
I'll tell you what I said to reporters at this point in the situation with Bill Clinton. And I said, look, I'm going to have to end up voting on this. I don't think I should make a judgment until all the evidence is in. So I'm not voting on it this time. I'm not following it as closely as I would if I was a juror, in other words, a member of the U.S. Senate. So I don't really have an opinion.
So with the president's interactions with foreign leaders, the quid pro quo, do you think those are impeachable offenses?
Again, this is going to be up to the individual members whether or not it's an impeachable offense. Interestingly, there's nowhere in the Constitution that it really defines what high crimes and misdemeanors are, which is the definition. And it does come down to that individual member what they think. So again, I'm focused on what I'm doing in Ohio, and I'm really not following this day by day or as closely as I would if I was in the Senate or if I was in the House, and I would have to ultimately vote on this. So I'm not going to express an opinion about that.
So switching gears to Ohio issues, you recently launched a H20 initiative. So what does that consist of?
Well, we have a problem in regard to water. First of all, Ohio is very lucky. We have an abundance of water. About 3 million Ohioans get their water from Lake Erie. But we have some water problems. We have some places in Ohio, some of our smaller villages, for example, that maybe has a water system that it's not up to date, that's out of compliance with the EPA. We also have, obviously, a problem with Lake Erie in regard to algae bloom. And certainly anybody who lives near Toledo remembers when we had a water problem in Toledo because of the algae bloom. So we have to try to fix the algae bloom. Now, the facts are that about 80% of the phosphorus that runs into Lake Erie is coming as a direct result of agricultural runoff and into the Maumee Basin and then into the Maumee River Basin, which then ultimately goes into Lake Erie. So we have put together a plan, and I think it's important to tell your viewers how we put the plan together. We brought farmers together. Agriculture is still number one industry in the state of Ohio. Northwest Ohio is just a great place for agriculture and farming. So we pulled them together. We pulled environmentalists. We put people who, such as the Nature Conservancy, who are focused on conservation, and started working on a plan. We were able to get from the General Assembly, from the legislators, money to work on this project. And if we didn't have the money, we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing. But we came up with a plan which basically gives farmers an economic incentive, gives them some money to help them have better farming practices so that we have less runoff. And one of the ways, just to take an example, is that farmers today, we have the technology that they can go through their field and you can determine in the field where there's needs to be more of this kind of fertilizer or more of that. And so by pinpointing how much fertilizer is put in, just the amount and just the right place, you save fertilizer, which saves some money for the farmers, but it also means that there's less runoff. Another thing that we're doing that is not with the farmers, but it's going to help the runoff situation is more wetlands. Wetlands occur naturally, but you also can create wetlands. And so we're going to create more wetlands. And wetlands really serve as a filter, and they filter out some of that stuff that is coming out of the fields, and they filter it out before it reaches Lake Erie. So that's kind of in a quick explanation about what our plan is, and we're very excited about the plan. It's going to take a while. We build up this phosphorus, and it's in the soil in these farms, so we're not going to be able to fix this problem overnight, but we think we have a plan that is we can measure the results every year, see where we are, and we hope move forward.
So you passed a gun bill, and there was some people that were concerned about it and if it could do enough to protect Ohioans. So do you think it did do enough, and do you believe that there was some influence that made you say that there are certain things that you don't want in it? So did it do enough?
Well, we've not passed it. The legislature has not passed it yet, but I have presented it to the General Assembly. I've given them my proposal. And after the Dayton shooting, my wife and I went over and met with the mayor, Nan Whaley, and talked with her, talked with the police. We went to some of the funerals of people who died. It was just a horrible, horrible tragedy. And so I felt that I needed to lead in this regard, and I needed to come up with a proposal. And so we made a proposal, and it's a fairly comprehensive proposal, but it does really, I said, look, we need to do three things. One, we need to put a proposal together that has a chance of passing in the legislature, because it doesn't do any good to put something and make a speech if I can't get anything passed. Number two, it needs to be something that protects people's constitutional rights, and certainly including the Second Amendment, right to bear arms. But the third thing is we want something that would actually make a difference and that would save lives. And so we put this proposal together. And I'll just tell you because of time, we can't go through every part of it. But let me tell you about maybe what's been one of the more controversial parts, but I think also one of the most important parts. I started my career as a county prosecuting attorney, so I saw a lot of problems related to police-type problems that police run into. One of the problems that we see is a family has someone in their family, maybe it's an uncle, maybe it's a father, maybe it's a son, who is either an alcoholic, or they have a drug problem, or they have a mental health problem, or all of the above, or two of the above. And the family thinks that person's a danger to themselves and they're a danger to others, and we need to do something. So let's say the person maybe has a mental health problem and they're not taking their medication. Or let's say they're on some drugs and they're acting out, and they're acting on, let's say they take meth and they're acting crazy. And the family knows that person also has some guns. Well, now they call the police, and the police go out and investigate it, but if that person has not broken a law, it's difficult sometimes for the police to be able to do anything. So what we have done is written a law that says that if the police determine, after the family calls them, and it's usually the family that calls them because they're the ones that know what's going on with that person, family calls them, police come out, if they determine that person's a danger to themselves or a danger to others, and they have one of these three things, either they're an alcoholic or drug addict, or in fact they have a mental health problem, if the police thinks that, then they can take them in and have them evaluated by a doctor in a hospital, and they're held in the hospital. If the doctor determines those same things, based on medical science, then the police can then file something in the probate court, and that person can get additional help. They can be ordered to get additional help. The same time, if they have guns and that the judge thinks that person may go back and get their guns, then the judge can give an order to the police to go get the guns and hold them until that person is better and has gone through whatever the treatment is, and they've fixed whatever the problem is. So that's one of the more controversial parts of the bill, but I think it's one of the parts of the bill that will really have the most impact. I think it will save lives. I think it will stop some suicides. I think it will also prevent other violence by these individuals.
So as of today, you launched a list of new foster care forums that you're going to be hosting. So And if you can quickly give us some of the details of when those forums and where they will be happening.
We started the process. I've been interested in foster care since I was a county prosecuting attorney, and under Ohio law, the county prosecuting attorney is the lawyer for the local children's services. So if the children's services saw a situation where they had to take the child out of a home, I was the lawyer who had to go to court and would present that evidence. So I've been interested in foster care. In the last few years, as the drug epidemic has increased, we've seen more and more kids who have to enter foster care because their parents are drug addicts and they simply cannot take care of them. So a real challenge. And so I put a group together of people who work in children's services, but also people who have been foster parents, and we also have people who have been foster children. In other words, they've been in foster care. And I've asked them to go around the state. It's about 15 people. And I've asked them to go around the state and hold hearings all over Ohio and hear what people are telling them, and then come back to me, but also to the state legislature with specific recommendations. So I told them, look, I'm not going to tell you what to come back with. I'm not going to tell you what your recommendation should be. But when you come back with these recommendations, we're going to try to get them passed and make the changes that we need. One of the things that we need to do a better job of is when a child goes into foster care, what we're trying to do is find them a permanent home. And what we found is that if the local children's services has somebody on staff whose sole job is to try to match that child with someone where that would work for that child and would work for that adult, it works better. And the Dave Thomas Foundation, the Wendy's, they've actually are paying for some people in local children's services, but not in all 88 counties, but in some of these places, and it's actually worked very well. So we would like to expand that, frankly, to all 88 counties.
Well, Governor DeWine, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the interview very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.